Of the Board of Trustees, we want to note that the meeting is being broadcast on the NUSD YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sound from those attending the meeting, FYI. If you'd like to make comment on any item on or not on agenda, please see staff at the side table for a comment card. The board did meet in closed session this evening. Trustee Novato will... Why? I cannot get it together lately. I'm so sorry. We're going to now do the Pledge of Allegiance. And thank you to our student participant in leading us. We'll now have a report out on closed session.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items: conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, information only, public employee discipline dismissal release, information only, conference with labor negotiators Joshua Braff, Chief Financial Officer, and Francesca Whitcomb, Executive Director, Human Resources, an employee organization, Novato Federation of Teachers, NFT, information only. Conference with labor negotiators Joshua Braff, Chief Financial Officer, and Francesca Whitcomb, Executive Director, Human Resources, an employees organization, California School Employee Association, CSEA, information only.
Thank you. I'll now ask for a motion to approve this evening's agenda. Trustee Lametta, thank you. And do we have a second? Trustee Alexander, thank you. All in favor? We have 6 plus 3 student trustees. Next, we have approval of consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would like to pull off consent or make a motion to approve?
I'll move consent.
Thank you. That was Trustee Butler. And a second by Trustee Pickus. Thank you. No discussion. All in favor? Thank you. 6 plus 3 student trustees in favor. Next, we have announcements. We'll start with our student trustees.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. San Marin has not been very busy. We have mainly been doing Halloween things, which we are very excited for, and sports. So over the last week, ASB has been selling boograms, which you can send a little ghost lollipop to your friends and write a little message to them to celebrate Halloween, which will be delivered on Halloween. And this is a fundraiser for our freshmen. They've put it on really nicely, and we're excited. We'll be selling these through Wednesday, and that's very fun. On Halloween, we are going to have All Saints preschoolers come and parade throughout break in their little costumes. We get to have ASB also be in costumes, and they'll walk around with the kids, and then we're going to go trick-or-treating in classrooms where the teachers will have candy for them. And honestly, they have a lot of fun. I got to do it last year, and it is just an amazing event. The high schoolers and the students love it, so we're all really excited that we get to continue doing this. And then we're also going to have our annual costume contest at lunch. This really brings our community together. We all get to have a fun time participating in Halloween spirit. The teachers usually go head to head, and I'm very excited to see what they pull this year. We have singles, duos, groups, many different costume categories. For athletics, we have a lot of playoffs this week. Girls tennis hosts MC today for the MCAL quarterfinals. Boys and girls water polo are playing down at Archie Williams today in the MCAL quarterfinals. Flag football plays tonight at 7:30 up at Cardinal Newman and versus Bethel High School in the NCS first round of playoffs. The girls volleyball host Freedom High School tonight at 7 p.m. at San Marin in the NCS first round of playoffs. And the girls golf team will compete in NCS next Monday up in Windsor. We have a lot of sports today. Winter sports start Monday, November 3rd. All athletes must be cleared on home campus in order to play sports for San Marin and Novato High School. So thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Since we last met, Novato had our homecoming parade and all of our homecoming festivities. So thank you to all of the trustees who attended those and supported us. We had our new Novato High Pep Band debut at our homecoming game, which was super fun. It brought a lot of life into the game, and I think it's incredible that the kids are doing this. We had the digital animation contest where 30 students made up 6 teams and stayed up all night with the teacher, Mr. Gersh, and created incredible animated films. 2 of those teams placed in the top 10% out of 750 teams and beat out over 600 college or university teams. And then our incredible Mr. Chidell of our film department was selected as Teacher of the Year for the All-American High School Film Festival, which is a nationwide honor, and we are super happy for him. Upcoming, we have Big Band Dance this week on Thursday. If you can make it, please come. We would love to have you. We have our fall musical coming up. We have a preview night on the 14th of November, so come see Little Shop of Horrors. The senior class is selling pies with the organization Upper Crust. So if you or your family need pies for any of the holidays coming up, come talk to an NHS student and we can get you some. We have a Dia de los Muertos altar that is set up to celebrate Day of the Dead. And then we, similar to San Marin, are doing a lot of Halloween stuff. We're also doing a costume contest. We also did the Boo-grams. And I think that's about it. Thank you all.
Hello, trustees and Dr. Smith. Last week, the leadership class led our first team building day for our whole school. Team building day is always a fun experience where students are placed into groups and work together to solve a problem or participate in a challenge. Like an egg drop, we learn to work together and collaborate. In honor of Dia de los Muertos, we have an ofrenda outside for this week. It's currently Red Ribbon Week, which is a week to focus on drug awareness. So students and staff are encouraged to wear the red ribbons all week that the leadership class distributed. Students are also encouraged to wear red tomorrow. This month's 6C that we are focusing on in classes is conscientious learning. Next week, Bridges students will be participating in their week-long internships throughout the community. Thank you.
Sincere thanks to the students for all of the updates, for all of the hard work, and all of the fun. I was very pleased in the past couple of weeks to be able to join the Parcel Oversight Committee and to also join the Parcel Tax Exploratory Committee here in this room, and really impressed by the level of work and insight that's brought into the conversation and important for community, because the district really needs the community's support around the parcel tax. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I was so excited that I got to go to Pleasant Valley on a site visit. I have a different work schedule this year, and so I haven't been able to go to sites, which is my favorite part of the job. So it was just really exciting for me, and I'm sorry that I don't know the TK teacher's name who we visited, but we went in her classroom and all of these little angelic humans were focusing on the letter H. And it was so, we commented on how beautiful the play was in that classroom and how they were playing with this letter in multiple ways. It was beautiful, and it was so calm and peaceful, and I learned some parenting tips. So that was really exciting for me. And I also, with my parent hat on, my kids came home and are talking about the ofrendas in their classroom and Diwali and what that is. And it's just, I'm so proud to work in a district and have kids in a district where they get to learn about so many cultures and traditions. It just was like a nice, proud moment with both my parent and my school board hat on. So thanks.
I as well got to Pleasant Valley for a site visit along with Rancho. Both sites are fantastic sites, and I know a lot of that is, I know we have some Rancho parents here tonight, but a lot of it is the parents coming together and building up the sites and how the gardens and all the little areas that are just welcoming to everybody. So both campuses were really good, and in the classroom, a lot of learning is happening in a good way. So
Thank you. I was able to get to the Red Rock Run, which is the middle school cross-country event. It happens every year. I was able to at least watch 2 of those races, so that was exciting. The Novato High School Homecoming Parade, which was fun to ride in the back of a truck and just kind of, do our waving and all that stuff. The Workforce Housing Advisory Committee, we're going to hear a little bit of that tonight in one of our items and of where we're at in that process. And the Marin County School Boards Association held a kind of a kickoff breakfast with an AI presentation, and that was very interesting.
So first, I just want to say I loved the parade. It was so much fun, and I really appreciate being included in that and having Mr. Sherrill drive us around in the truck. It was a lot of fun, so thank you for including us. Similarly, I was at a couple of parcel tax event, the oversight and the exploratory housing meeting. Exciting to see that moving along and getting information. Rancho and we went to Rancho and PV. I don't know how I could forget. That's my home school. Beautiful campus. I'm just always so impressed. I really want our communities to see all the beautiful work that's been done just through the work from families and volunteers, but also the bond funds and all the things that have happened. The gardens and everything just looks so nice, and it's been perfect with this weird weather. When you get the sun coming out and seeing all the cool stuff that the kids are engaged in, and the plantings and all that. It was a lot of fun. One of the things, the AI event was super interesting and timely. Listening to a legal representative from F3 about the implications of AI in our schools, and just kind of setting the tone for things that we need to be looking for. And actually, I'll touch on that in a later agenda item tonight. And then something which Trustee Alexandra was at on Friday, which was super important as it relates to our kids and our community. Marin Communications Forum held a federal funding cuts and the impact event, and there we talked about the potential cuts impacting the needs of our students, and how we need to, how it's going to be hard. The schools support so many things for our kids and families, whether it be mental health services, other supports, and food. And so the challenges that are going to be coming, and was a good discussion, although I was crying for part of it because it's just so sad. The uncertainty right now with funding coming from the federal government. And then congratulations to Trustee Butler. We were on a call, and I don't know what this stands for, CCSBO.
Marin County Committee on School District Organization.
Thank you. So we voted her in for another term for that. So that was fun.
Good evening. I also attended the IAA event a couple weeks ago. Was part of the Novato High Homecoming Parade. That was fun. And I also attended DLAC, so we had a lot of great conversations regarding math tutoring and leadership with our Latinx community. And so there were great meetings in the last couple of weeks. Thank you.
Also attended some of the things mentioned previously. I'll share that our district is presenting at the California School Board Association a presentation on workforce housing, so we've been working on that presentation. Went to a Novato High community meeting, attended flag football at middle school and high school, and participated in the last week of the school fuel softball tournament. That fundraiser raised around a little over $9,000, which was fantastic, and all of that goes back to the schools. Thank you.
Alrighty. So I'm not going to repeat all of the things because most of those events I accompanied as well. And I echo that one of our best parts of our jobs is visiting classrooms. So I'm glad you could join us, Abby. We continue to do listening sessions with staff, and now we're going to be doing listening sessions with various departments as well. So we look forward to that this coming month. And Josh and I continue to go on our budget roadshow and provide information regarding the budget as many times as we can. Today, a couple of events. Some of us visited the Oak Hill site, which is located very near the San Quentin, but also like more closer to the Country Mart, I think it's called now, Larkspur Landing. And well, it was a gorgeous day, right? And so it was just like we were up on the hill and we're like, oh yes, this would be a great place for, housing for staff, right? So it was really exciting to see that site today. And let's see, the information we sent home, an information and budget flyer. And there was like a tear-off portion that people could send in. We've gotten quite a few, I would say almost 200 responses now, in which people have, gauged what matters the most to them in the community. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate engagement on social media just to continue to get the word out, and education around our current budget status. On November 18th, which is our next board meeting, we will be bringing a resolution that outlines a budget stabilization plan. And I think we're kind of really, you all listened last time, really understanding some of the pieces and challenges that we're presenting. But I am going to end on two good notes on that part, which is the Schools Rule Foundation gave us a check today for $241,000 to go to schools, our own school fuel, and to continue to support our grants that we give to our programs, et cetera. So that was another great event. And then we also wanted to respond to Diane's message, which is, there's some galvanizing and some work being done across community services to be able to combat any potential food insecurity due to the federal shutdown that is the insecurity piece and fewer cards being given out and services is coming up right this weekend. And so we are preparing even as much as we can as a school district to provide food as necessary to our families. Okay, shout out to all the principals. It's Principal Appreciation Month, so thank you. And we simply really have an incredible team of top-notch educators at our sites, and they make a difference every day for our kids. This is an interesting shout out, and I love it. So our Maritza, I'm going to call her ours, our transportation director, Maritza Mora Flores, she received a certificate of recognition from the California State Assembly that was presented at a CASTO conference, which is about transportation management. And she was given this award because she was the chapter president of the California Association of School Transportation Officials. It was recognizing her leadership, commitment to student safety, and dedication to supporting transportation professionals. So congratulations to Maritza. We look forward to Thursday. Thursday is a minimum day for professional learning in the afternoon. And of course, we simply are very excited for Friday, for Halloween. And we're going to go to as many sites as we can to check out all of your costumes. I've seen some of Diane's already. Yes. Love the red hair. Yeah. Is it working? Are the kids excited now? Okay. Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay. That's it.
Can I ask a follow-up? Dr. Smith, I appreciate your forward thinking and collaboration around food security and other issues. I know there are many members of our community who want to jump in and support where they can. If there are opportunities in whatever the district is planning, if there are asks or needs from the community, I think people are ready and excited to jump in and support. So when is appropriate to reach out, let us know how we can help.
On it.
Okay, our next item is presentation. We have Sinaloa Middle School this time.
Thank you. You gave great instructions. Good evening, trustees, Dr. Smith. Students love hearing your updates about what's happening on your respective campuses, especially being somewhat new still to Novato. It's awesome to learn about our high schools and see what's kind of being filtered up from middle school into high school. And I know my student who was here doing the pledge, who pictures himself in your seat at some point, was really interested to hear what you were presenting about. So today I have the honor to present about what Sinaloa Middle School is doing to support our English language learners. And we are doing a lot, but we were only given 5 slides, so they're very text heavy, which is not a good teaching practice. But we had a lot of brilliance to share, so we had to pack them into the slides that we have, so just bear with us. So something we're really focused on school-wide, both last year and this year, is creating more of a culture of belonging. Because we know that if students don't feel emotionally safe, they don't trust the adults in front of them, that it's really hard to learn and it's hard to take in new content. And so one of our goals really last year and this year and before I arrived at Sinaloa, but it's something we're really focusing now in our SPSA on, is increasing the cultural competency among staff, students, community, and fostering just a more nurturing, inclusive, safe learning environment for students. And so I pulled out little snippets from our SPSA goals to show that each one of them has a part in this plan. And the plan is really to make it a campus where all students feel safe, all students feel welcome, feel like they belong, feel connected to the adults in front of them, feel a culture of trust, have someone to go to if they're not feeling safe or if something is going wrong, either with a teacher in a class, with a peer, they have someone to talk to. And I'm going to pass the mic to our amazing community liaison, Damaris.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to present the demographic data, Sinaloa Middle School, but I like to start by saying everyone smiles in the same language. That's something that we have at Sinaloa, and I think everybody does that at Sinaloa. So I want you to see the first part here. As Ellie said, it's a pack of information, but we're going to try our best. That's the demographic of the school. 52.2% are white students, 32.8 Hispanic or Latino, 8.4 2 or more races, 4.1 Asian, 1.7 African American, 0.6 Filipino, and 0.3 other. So that's just to give you an idea of the rest of the information. We have 67 students that were born outside the United States, and we got this information from our counseling tech. And we did that to celebrate International Friendship Day. And then I went on Aries and I found, I kind of confirm each of them just to make sure that they, and tell you tonight that they represent 20 different countries and they speak 13 different languages. And all those students are not all the ones that represent the 64 English learners. That's the interesting part. We have 67 students that were born outside the United States, 64 English learners, but out of those, only 33 were born outside of the US. They represent 7 countries, 32 happen to speak Spanish, but they have 7 different cultures. 1 speaks Farsi and Persian, and then we have 31 students that are born in the US, which probably means that they're the second generation. 30 speak Spanish, 1 speaks Chinese and Taiwanese. And they all are in the 4 different levels. The first one, 12 students, and then 14 on all the others. They move around the year. Sometimes they are promoted to the next level or they exit. I think resources and special education, we have 10 students now. 25 are newcomers and 30 are long-term English learners. And over there, you can see some other languages besides the ones that we mentioned here that students speak, because it's 234 students. So it's lots of cultures, different languages, and lots of diversity. And I think that's my part.
Oh, fancy. I should know by now. All right. You thought that was it, but there's more text coming. Some of our supports, both designated, integrated, and some of our interventions. I'm going to read the foreboard because that board is really close.
We have it here too.
Oh, I think I like this one. We have designated class periods for English language development like they do in other middle schools for each level. Our ELD teacher collaboration time for each 4 of the teachers that do it. Our ELD specialist and coordinator is quite phenomenal. She works quite closely with me with data and ELD reports that we work on together.
Shout out to Miss Menezes.
We re-level, she does a lot of re-leveling of students throughout the year, not necessarily waiting for one time, so there is some movement throughout the year, which is great for the kids to work on personal goals. Daily focus of reading, writing, listening, and speaking for our ELD students. Once a week, there's integrated VAPA work they experience. I think it's Thursdays for dance with Miss Shields, which is quite fun. Some of our integrated supports currently, all teachers are learning from the ELD teachers. So at our recent PD, we got to learn some strategies that are being used in ELD classrooms so that all teachers can be supporting our ELD learners on a more regular basis. We are using AVID and GLAD strategies across all classrooms, which we know are good for all learners. We are using IXL. I'll have to switch now, switch screens. We are using IXL for ongoing data and differentiated instruction. We have a math teacher who is pulling a small group using IXL data of kids with common scores from IXL in ELD, supporting math language and math development at the same time. And one of our other ones, a designated support that I forgot on the list, is 7th period career exploration. So after the day has ended for most of our students, these kiddos head to a 7th period where they are able to do hands-on learning of tons of fun stuff. Cosmetology, sports medicine, green screen videography, and a bunch more learning. Super fun. We have current intervention, ELD coordinator pushing into science and math. Again, she's pretty awesome. Bilingual tutoring support from the San Marin students who come on Tuesday afternoons, which is great because when you're a middle schooler, way more fun to learn from a high schooler after school. So this is just some of them. As I was reading over this screen, we were adding more, which is why we have notes over here and the supports over here. So it's fun to see all the awesome things you were doing. Thank you.
All right, and then our last slide here is about what we're doing to build our collective cultural competency as a staff, also with our students and also with our community. So we just listed lots of the amazing things that are happening. Damaris prepared a beautiful presentation for the staff on our PD day that was all about how to support our ELs. She presented a lot of the demographic data that you heard, but also prepared words from interviews that she had with families of newcomers, newcomer students, how they're feeling at Sinaloa thus far, what they're really enjoying, what they would like to see more of. So that was wonderful. She shared some of the practices that have been really high leverage among teachers so that we can try to grow those practices more across classrooms. She gave some little quizzes to help teach the teachers a little more about what it means to be first, second, or third generation, and what kinds of supports a student would need based on how long they've been in the United States. And that is something we would like to do more of. We're hoping to plan for the spring a professional development that would be more around immigration trauma and kind of the different phases that students go through when they arrive to the country based on how long they've been here and based on how much family and connection they have in the place where they land,
and resources. So we're hoping to grow that more. Really grateful for her expertise and knowledge. And then also, we're just making a lot of efforts to diversify our staff. So anytime we're hiring for a position, we're really taking into account wanting to find folks that are bicultural, bilingual, that look like our students, so that the students have more trusted adults and folks that they feel connected to. Right now, we have our bilingual community liaison, obviously. We have a full-time counselor who's Latina and bilingual. We have 2 MFT interns that are Latina and bilingual. We just hired a phenomenal librarian. Sorry to the school that we took her from, because she's going to be amazing, and she's also bilingual and Latina. And we have a campus supervisor who is also Latina and bilingual. So I feel like just in a year, we've been able to hire a lot of folks that our students can go to communicate problems or things that they need. And that's awesome. And I love that I'm able to bring my Spanish and use it every day, even though I'm not a native speaker. I find myself using it throughout the day with students and with families. And I think that takes some of the pressure off of Damaris last year being the only person on campus who could do translation. So that's really nice. And then we also developed a collaboration with Fuerte, which is a program that comes in and presents in our ELD classes and helps support our English language learners with building more cultural competence about the United States and helps them integrate more into our community, but does so in their native language. We also just adopted the Culture of Belonging curriculum, and I know that some of you are on that committee, the equity committee that chose to adopt that curriculum. We just launched our first lessons last week, actually, and we're doing monthly lessons for all 6th graders. We're using their PE time since they don't have as many required PE minutes to give them that curriculum. And we're doing it as an admin and counseling team to sort of model for teachers that we're also willing to come in and be the teacher and model the vulnerability so that hopefully teachers will see the impact and want to take it on in future years, although we're really enjoying it. So I don't know if I'd want to give it up. Avid just did an amazing cultural potluck. We have an incredible student support team led by Miss Nelson, our drama teacher, and this is a group of 40 students that come on their own accord during second period and then into their lunchtime to be a community for students that might be struggling with bullying behaviors, that want to get advice from kids about how to do better and how to move forward. And instead of meeting with principal or vice principal, you're actually meeting with a group of students that can help guide you to make better choices, and it's been really, really successful. We can also bring in 2 kids that are having trouble getting along, and the team can sort of guide and advise them on how to do better. And because some of our bullying behaviors are hate speech related and impact our English language learners, I feel like it's important to mention because it's part of what we're doing to build the cultural competency of students. It's way more impactful to hear from your peers how your words are impacting other students on campus than to hear it maybe from a principal. We also have Safe School Ambassadors. It's a new program that we just adopted this year through a grant that one of our counselors was able to secure this summer. And they just had a 2-day, full-day training for 40 students that will now be the students out on campus that are hopefully interrupting those moments of hate speech or bullying behavior that they're seeing happening. And they have little families led by an adult, about 10 students per family, and they're meeting every other week with their family advisor to talk about what they're seeing and what's happening. So that's going to be a great way to get student voice. And it's a really diverse group of students. Our leadership class is phenomenal. It's wonderful, but ELD students can't participate on leadership. And so we have to have other ways that we're bringing in student voice that don't just rely on coming from our leadership class. And then we have an anti-hate speech policy that we adopted last year. The first step is not suspension. The first step is education. And through enacting that policy, we only had 1 instance of recidivism last year, so only 1 student who repeated hate speech after going through the educational steps. This year, we've had 5 incidents of hate speech and 0 recidivism. So in my opinion, it really is working to lead with education rather than lead with suspension. That's not to say we don't suspend if it continues, but we haven't had to do that, so that's been really nice. And then lots of cultural celebrations. Damaris is helping coordinate an altar that's going to be built this Friday. We have International Friendship Day in the spring, which bring lots of parents, lots of different foods to represent all the cultures on campus. We're doing translation at all of our family meetings. We do translation in classroom on all the slides. It's kind of a new expectation that teachers took on wholeheartedly and have started doing with all of their presentation. Lots of teachers are even including exemplars in Spanish in Google Classroom for all of the assignments they're giving, which is wonderful. Students are accessing platforms that are in Spanish and bilingual for reading. They're using translation devices sometimes in the classroom as well. And then I'm doing a Monday morning video that's shown in all the classrooms that I do in English and Spanish. So those are just kind of small ways that we're making other languages more present in the classroom. And then our PTSA president this year, Claire Tyler, who's amazing, is also attending our ELAC meetings. And I think that makes a really big difference. She's also working on learning more Spanish, and she uses her Spanish with parents. And so I think it's important for them to see someone from, a mostly English-speaking committee of parent leaders show up to the mostly Spanish-speaking committee of parent leaders. It's made a big difference. Anything else? Any questions?
It's not really a question, but I feel like there should be a mic drop. So there are so many profound things that you are doing to create safety, which leads to improved academics, the cultural competence. And there were so many things that I just wanted to talk about. So maybe that's a different conversation. I'm just so impressed with the creative thinking that's happening on your campus. The slide that you put together around just how many different cultures and languages, our EL population is often just like the EL population, and there's so much in there. That was such a beautiful slide, so thank you. And just the less exciting but important piece is it sounds like IXL is a really helpful tool.
It is.
And that it's giving us kind of the data that we need to really figure out how to support individual students. Mm-hmm. So that's just an affirmation, so thank you. Very cool.
Thank you. Oh yeah, the wellness fair. It stands alone there, so I didn't read it. Something else we're doing this year.
Yeah, just so much to appreciate. I wanted to underscore what you noted about the efforts to diversify your staff and the work that you're doing to have the student population, as you said, the teachers reflect the student population, which I think is a very, very powerful position to come from, and that awareness is really powerful. I guess my curiosity for the district is, do we have that information by school, pro rata, per the demographics of the school and understanding the demographics of the teachers? I'd be really interested in seeing how it compared across different locations. Thank you.
I was remiss to not mention the beautiful artwork too, which I believe is from I love that we're doing this. Makes me happy, and so thank you for. This is just so cool, all the different aspects that you're doing. And I'm on overload because there's so many cool different things. And I feel like I can't even articulate I had a question at the start, which now I'm like, don't even remember how you phrased it. But the idea was about professional development around some of the things relating to our newcomers. Mm-hmm. And my thought had been, what I would love to see if that can be replicated, or successful, or having the door open for other people or other mm-hmm. teachers and staff that might be interested in participating and learning more. I just think that would just be so nice. So.
Yeah, we did it in San Rafael when I was principal there with a collaboration between UCSF and Canal Alliance, and it was fabulous. So I'm already in touch with those same two women to see if they can lead the same thing for us in the spring. So we might be coming to PTSA.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I might cry, I'm sorry. It's my 5th year as a parent at Sinaloa, and I've watched a lot of things happen there. And the way that everything has shifted, the way that all students are valued and their voice is valued, and the seamless way that you've incorporated bilingualness, if that's the right word, it's like all kids just expect that that's how they're going to hear information now, and it's not even a thing. And I think that was such a key to shifting everything, that we're all here together and it's not a thing. Like, it's beautiful and to be celebrated. Sorry, it's been really, really nice to watch. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jonathan.
Oh, students.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. From a student perspective who went through Sinaloa and experienced some troubles that definitely could have been avoided by programs like this, your impact is incredible, and really just thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for being here. Okay, our next agenda item is 11, non-agenda public comment. We have Vanessa Coleman. She has 3 minutes. Just so you know, we are so glad to have public comment on any item not on agenda. 3 minutes is allowed to each commenter. However, we are not able to respond to these comments, nor are we able to speak about employees or student privacy situations. The board directs the appropriate staff member to respond to all comments within 2 business days following the meeting.
I'm going to wear a different hat now. I'm Vanessa Coleman. I wear a lot of hats around here. This hat is now the vice president of Novato Sports Boosters and also the proud parent of a Novato athlete and the parent in charge of Senior Day for football, which is on November 8th. This year we have 22 seniors graduating from the football program, and I'm here to invite you and give you an invitation and a booster card that also works for home basketball games. Can I approach? Is that the right word?
You may approach the bench.
That's very official.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I also invited some of their elementary teachers and middle school teachers. Thank you.
Yes, love it. Okay. Next up is item 12A. This is the special education report. What? Oh, I think that was all. Vanessa, am I correct? That was the end of your comments? Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say, Ellie, this is it's a hard act to follow. Thanks a lot. Goodness gracious. Good evening. I'm sorry I sound like a frog. My name is Dawn Mawhinney. I am the Director of Special Education here at Novato Unified School District. And I am here to give the annual report on special education. So to paint the picture on the students that the special education department serves throughout the district, here are some numbers that we have for you. 12.9% of the population in Novato Unified School District participates in receiving some kind of service from the special education department, whether it's speech only or whether it is a more restrictive environment in different classes. We have, when this slide was created, remember these numbers are live the day it's created, the next day they are no longer accurate numbers, but pretty close. We have 67 little ones participating in our early intervention program this year. 51 students in non-public schools, 30 students in our post-secondary transition programs, which is the 18 to 22-year-old programs, 175 students in special day classes, including the NUSD transition program, and 31 NUSD students in Marin County Office of Education programs on our campuses, and 73 overall. Every year, we like to think about what our goals are for the year as a department across the entire district. 2 of these will probably always be part of our goals. There's never going to be a time where we can't continue to try to partner better with our families and caregivers. That is going to be an ongoing goal to consistently improve that continuous improvement model. Continuing again to focus on belonging for all of our students And this year we identified that we needed to support our new educators and our new providers just a little bit more than we had in the past. These are some of the examples of how we want to connect with our families and caregivers. We have the special education new family night that at the beginning of the year, this is our second time that we've done that as the current team. We have 4 times a year, we call it Coffee and Chat, has 0 agenda, but the parents, the families, the caregivers can come. We have some snacks and some coffee. They never like my snacks, though. I keep trying to find better snacks, but no one likes my snacks. We have the District Special Education Advisory Committee. There's also 4 meetings a year for this. This has a more formal agenda, and that agenda is driven by surveys we send out to parents and things we hear from parents, and we try to bring back into those meetings and address those and have participation. We have a monthly newsletter, we have surveys, we try to send out all information in Spanish and English. I can only think of one form this year that was not, and it was because it wasn't our form, and we are still waiting for it to be translated. Parent Square for students to include parents of students attending MCOE, and through Parent Square, the language can be in anything that they need. Working on updating the NUSD special education website, which was brought to our attention. It's going to be a long-term goal, and it's going to have some improvements over time. Things we've been able to do already were making sure there was more detail on who to contact. Like, this person does this. This is who you would contact for these things. The continuum of services, the parental safeguards, I put them in a place that were easier to find. They were a little hidden before. And some family and caregiver meeting dates. Focus on belonging, the new playground. Thank you to M&O, are all going to have accessible play equipment with the new playgrounds being put into place. All students on Novato Unified School District campuses are expected to attend all school-wide events. There are some times where the student doesn't want to. We also don't force students to do that. We don't force any students to do that. So it is built to what they are appropriate to do, and they are expected to attend. All students are invited to participate in grade level or appropriate equivalent field trips. These are the things we put into place this year to try to support our new folks just a little bit more. We talked about the orientation already. We've also put into place, if you are a new teacher, you have an induction program and you are already assigned a mentor, which meets with you regularly. But there is a very specific set of goals for that, which could be different than someone entering into special education, which has a whole different level of understanding of what they need to do. So we also enacted some peer-to-peer coaching in our TK through 2 SDC classes, so our teachers had a place to go and a professional and someone with experience to talk to, and go and observe them. They can go and observe the experienced teacher. Psychologists and speech and language provider meetings we have regularly scheduled throughout the year. We've offered a lot of different PD and training opportunities this year on student plan tracking software such as SACE. Paradigm is another one, but there's very specific names. And assessment training as well. We just completed another assessment training from some of our internal experts. And 5 early intervention, 5 meetings overall. We've broken them up this year to be more focused on what folks need, from TK or EI through 6, and then also 9 through 12, because there's different goals and different needs at each level. And a new program update. We are so excited about our 2 new programs. The 18 to 22-year-old Moderate Transition Program, which is housed at the Hill Center, is up, it's running. Is JC from M&O in here? He's going to get 2 shout-outs from me tonight. He's not. That is too bad. There he is. He is the man. That room is fantastic. They can cook. They have like a full kitchen. They have a washer and dryer, a dishwasher. It's beautiful, new flooring. It is really a welcoming and lovely space for our young adults to come into. And when they're in that space, because they're not just learning in that space. There's a full curriculum in the space, academic as well as functional living skills and daily living skills, which you just touched on some. But the teacher, Kevin Roach, who's also pretty amazing, and the pair two take the students out for transportation training, out in the community for lunch, out in the community on the train, on the bus, on the van, and they do things within the community. They also have internships right now at a hardware store and a grocery store, and we're trying to line up one of the students to have a little internship here at the district office during the week, which is really exciting. And they're also connecting them to the College of Marin here in town and teaching them how to get back and forth from there and to be successful in those classes. It's really exciting stuff. And our 3 through 5 mild to moderate SOCOG class, which is more on the moderate side of the mild to moderate in that category as well. We've had a successful TK through 2 class there for some time. Those students were aging out of TK through 2, going into 3 through 5. We brought those students now have a place at Lou Sutton in that 3 through 5 class as well. So we've added a teacher, and now there's a full TK through 5 offered at that school. The last part is we continue to be over-identified in the area of African American students for other health impairment is new and autism. There was a very interesting question, and I appreciated the question, thank you, about what does that mean for us? I can't tell you that we're identifying students inappropriately. We go through the assessments are appropriate. But we do always need to make sure through that lens and being aware of this coming or this happening, are we making sure that we're continually using best practice? Are we looking at it through a lens of cultural competency? Are we making sure that we are doing the appropriate assessments with the appropriate students? And are we making sure that we have tier 2 interventions in when the students are not quite there yet? And what we're doing to support them, to make sure that we're doing everything we can for that student. It is part of the continuous improvement monitoring plan. It was adopted 3 years ago. We'll be making a new plan this year. That plan is to address some of this over-identification, which is an interesting thing, right? Because the over-identification comes before what we can do within special education. The current plan focuses a lot on math instructional materials, which I think was a great opportunity. And so this year we are piloting Touch Math in our EI through 5th grade classes. There are 6 teachers participating, and we are as a supplemental material for the math. And we're also piloting Math 180 in the 6 through 12. IXL was another program they wanted to pilot, but it was adopted, so yay for us. So we get to try them all out at the same time. And I'll keep you updated on those as we go. And there's also 6 teachers for that one as well. Any questions? Okay. I still think Ellie was more fun, but thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much. Our next item is 12B. This is the equity impairment update brought to us by Dr. Smith.
And Ellen. Thank you, Ellen. Okay, so this is a document that we bring back every year to discuss any changes or recommendations. When I first arrived at the district, this document called the Equity Imperative was discussed or named to me as really the North Star for our district in terms of goals, focus, what we want to make sure that we keep at the forefront of our work. I updated, my first year, I updated the equity imperative, and I was like, oh, okay, check, right? But the work really is about having discussions around data, working together with the community, staff, principals to see what we can do to move the needle in in many categories, right, in student outcomes. And some of the work that you see tonight, or you heard from tonight from Sinaloa, is part of those goals. in part of those discussions. So this is simply an update in the document itself. Any of the changes that we discussed will be highlighted in yellow. Okay, next. First slide. Okay, so we talked about that. Okay, I'm good. All right. When we took a look at kind of where we were going to focus, we looked at the big arching goals, and these were 3 subgroups. And I would say Latino students, but most specifically Latino male students, were on the lower end of student outcomes in almost every category. English learners, as well as students with individual education programs or IEPs. So we had our first equity meeting, equity imperative group meeting. We have about 35 participants. Our most recent meeting was in September. And some of the key suggestions are in the sections where we had a training for our district leadership team on culturally responsive leadership brought to us by our own Dr. Kessa Early and Antoine Banks. We really looked at an antiquated ethnic studies description, and we updated it to more of our current practice. The culture of belonging was mentioned by Ms. Marsh, and it's a curriculum TK8 around developing empathy in our students and acknowledging our differences, but most importantly, what we have in common. And then finally, there's a piece here that also aligns with the Sinaloa presentation, which is looking at, there was a request from the group, could we break down, and we did this district-wide, not school-wide, like Trustee Alexander mentioned, but we could look at that closer, is the ethnicity data of our staff. And this isn't specific to teachers, this was specific to all staff, I believe. No, this was teachers. I said certificated staff, so. This will need to be, all of these points will be our next topic of discussion in our next meeting in a couple of weeks. Next. These are our goals. We've mentioned these at the end of we did an equity imperative presentation at the end of last year. These are the same goals. I had a couple of members of our group recommended that we maybe add action steps and specific student measurable outcomes from these. So that'll be something that we also continue to work on. And we have 4 more equity imperative meetings, and we will continue to stay focused on the goal, and we will always use data as our conversation points to either affirm or results or change strategies. So the ongoing data analysis, we will have state and local assessments and surveys to continue to look at and talk about the addressing disparities. And super proud of this group and of the board for the enduring commitment to equity, the community partnership. It takes a whole village, right, to establish equity, but also maintain it. And we hope to give future updates as we go along. The famous question slide at the end.
Dr. Smith, I had kind of had this question during the Sinaloa presentation, but I think it applies here. You talked about adopting an anti-hate speech policy. Do all of our schools have those? Do only some schools have those? Could you maybe clarify the status?
We have anti-hate speech policies and procedures at all sites.
Okay, great, thank you.
That we started, we're in our 2nd year.
Okay, I see no other comments, questions. Thank you for continuing this work and moving it towards tangibles. I appreciate that. Our next item is 13A. This is brought to us by Joshua Braff. This is the approval of Rancho Elementary School roofing project. I know Josh has friends for this.
I consider everyone here my friend. So tonight we're going to bring to you the Rancho roof repair project for Rancho Elementary School. doing things slightly differently than how we normally do bond projects or roof repair projects, where we just bring to you, the specs and the costs and ask for approval. There was a lot of questions about why we might choose a certain way to do this roof repair, and from the simple question of why not just do it like we did Sinaloa this last year, or San Marin the year before that, and just rip off the roof and put a new roof on. And there's a lot that goes into that. So we wanted to make sure that we talk about the whole scope and scale. And with me is John from Greystone, as usual. But we also brought with us Trent from Motive Studios, who's our architect. Tim was unable, he was going to come, was unable to make it tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and then I'll pick back up at the end as we talk about the budget side of this.
All right, thank you. So tonight we'll review the agenda in which we'll identify the issues that are at hand. We'll review some of the options and discuss some of the potential funding for that, and then answer any questions you may have. The issue. So there's structural sagging, which is roof joist deflection that has been identified at 19 of the classrooms on site. Water has been found ponding on the roofs at these classrooms. This ponding water is going to lead to further deflections. It's going to make roof leaks unrepairable, and eventually a potential for a full failure. So NUSD is currently running pumps on the roofs to mitigate the water ponding, and this is only a short-term solution. JC and his facilities department has been spending a lot of time going up on the roofs, making sure that the pumps are working, sweeping off any built-up water and leaves and all that to keep that weight off of the roof. So this slide identifies a Google Earth image, and you can see with the 19 classrooms that we're talking about, and kind of shows us in where the brown is of where that water is actually ponding. Here's a couple photos. One on the upper left shows about 2 inches of water, and then there's a couple other locations where you can see that water kind of in between the classrooms that have ponded up. And we went out there and we measured. So kind of anywhere between 1.5 inches to the worst case at 3 inches, with most of them being approximately 1 3/4 to 2 inches. I'm going to turn it over to Trent to give some options.
Thank you very much. My name is Trent Summers. I'm with Motive Studio, and we were the architects for your San Marin and Sinaloa re-roof job, and John has brought us in to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we see at Rancho and then possible options for mitigating that, right? We're going to talk about 3 options. The first option would be removing the roof, rebuilding that roof sort of in place, and addressing the drainage issues. The second alternative would be installing some roof drains to move that water off the roof. And the third are 2 structural interventions inside the classroom to place some beams to reinforce those deflecting roof joists. It's important to note that options 1, 3, and 4 are going to allow you a fully DSA-approved certified structural intervention that is going to make that roof completely safe. Intervention 2 is going to remove the water, but won't directly affect the sagging. So we definitely need to go check with the division of the state architect to make sure that they agree with that solution. If it is something you'd like to think about, maybe look moving down the line. Okay. Just click. So if we look at option 1, removing the roofing would involve taking all the roofing off, evaluating the actual structural members that are in place, and then rebuilding that roof in place, adding the roofing layer back on, putting our units back on. We can do that. We can construct it in place. It's certainly going to be the least intrusive to the classrooms, right? The other solutions we're talking about involve beams and posts and some roof drains. The interiors of the classrooms won't change at all, right? But it is certainly our most unknown element, right? We're going to take the roofs apart, and then we're going to start to do some investigation as to like lumber grading and really finding out what's there, because the archives we have aren't really as documented as the drawings we do today. They're from the 50s. They were allowed to document a little less rigorously as we do now, so we don't really know the lumber grading. We will go in and do a lumber grading exercise. We'll bring our structural engineers back out, and then we'll develop a solution from there. So it is the least intrusive from the classroom space. It's going to take us a little bit longer than anything else because we need to do a real deep dive of what we have as our as-built condition. And then we'll work forward to rebuild the roof and restore it to that structural safe element that we need at the end of that project. We're looking at that taking about a year from start to finish, again, because we have to do that deconstruction, then that assessment phase, and then return back to the state to create the solution. Okay. And if at any time, please stop, ask questions. It always works better as a conversation.
Public comment will be taken after the presentation. Thank you.
The second solution we can talk about is installing a roof drain, right? It's very important to make sure that that water is removed from the roof. JC and his team are doing a great job making sure we have that, but as John was saying, it takes a lot of time and energy and effort. So we can build in a physical system to remove that water, right? In which those systems will be able to remove the water. But again, that solution doesn't necessarily address the deflection of the structural members, right? And that will take some water into the buildings the way we've looked at designing that to get that water. And the kids will hear running water as the roof drains go. There's a potential for leak. And again, as I said, we have to go back to the state architect because this is the one that doesn't fully address that structural component. We need to go make sure that they're on board with us. And we certainly can do that. We'll have a pre-application meeting. We'll meet with their engineers. We'll bring our engineers. We'll have everybody together to make sure that we get to a fully safe solution. But we will need to do another level of checking in if this is the route that's preferred to go. The third option would be to install beams in the classroom and a column two columns in the classroom and a beam along the top to effectively cut the span of those roof rafters in half. And once we do that, we are in a great structural shape, right? Our spans are a little bit too long right now based on the current code. When they were constructed, 100% they were constructed to the standards of the state of California. But as building codes change, some of those numbers change. So what we could do by placing a column and a couple beams is cut those spans in half, and then we're structurally very, very sound, right? We've cut that in half. And so what we've done would be to cut that all down. DSA would have they would come back through and approve all of that. It would not, if we place these columns in a certain way, right? And this is the difference between 3 and 4, and we'll show you some pictures. We are talking in the first option, option 3, of placing the columns inside the classrooms 5 feet offset from the walls. And we're doing that because the buildings themselves were framed with these under-slab ducts, right? So there's voids in the slab, right, at the edges that we'd have to mitigate. So this solution is a little bit more affordable, right, because we don't have to interact with the ducts, but it is going to take some of that very precious classroom space, right? So we understand that. And so what we did is we went and created a mock-up. You can, we apologize for some of these images, but there are a couple cardboard tubes, so we placed the beams where they'd be in the classroom. We took some pictures and we mocked up where those columns and beam would go. You'd see with option 3 that while we would save some money by avoiding that more sort of in-depth structural intervention at the footing, we're gonna lose some classroom space. Does that make sense? Another solution we can look at would be very similar to option 3, but we can offset those columns to the edge of the classroom. We would have to go cut into those ducts. We will have those solutions fully detailed and approved by the state architect, again, to always get back to that structurally sound solution. But it's also going to take removing some of that casework and bringing back in the casework, right? So there'll be a little bit of extra cost there. But what you'd see is that the classroom does kind of open up a bit more from our mock-up. Those columns are pushed to the edge, and you save that column space. So while it'd be a more costly and a bit more structurally in-depth solution, you would save the classroom space, and again, we'd go right back to that fully DSA-approved, state-certified, safe roof that we'd have. And again, this image is of that mock-up there and how that would look there with those columns on the edge. We take the casework out, we'd have to bring some back in to replace that. So it'd just be a little bit more time-consuming, but definitely you'd save that classroom space. This is another picture of that mock-up for you. You'll see right how that beam is going to come down through that casework. So we'd have to take that out, put the beam in place, put the foundation back in place, and then rebuild that casework. All of it completely doable. We just want to be really aware that that's sort of the difference between options 3 and 4. And I'm going to turn this back over to John for some recommendations, and we'll definitely hang out for any questions. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
So after careful consideration, we believe option 4 is the best option. It's the least intrusive option. It allows us to have that minimal disruption at the classroom by having the columns at as far over as possible. A little minimal intrusion on the countertops, but only about 6 inches or so, and there's still a lot of usable space. It's a good long-term fix. It addresses the roof sagging for the structure so that we, as Trent mentioned, we would be up to code at that point, and there would be no structural issues related to the roof. And then that existing roofing stays intact. So the roofing that is there, there's a good 20 plus years left on it. And by doing this, we don't get into the roof up top.
And then I brought back a updated bond priority list that references all the changes that have happened since we've completed some projects, so that we can see that this project does fit within the bond priority list and has incredibly minimal change to the ending fund balance. For that at project number 4. So we wanted to discuss the cost on that. Project number 4 was around 1.8 million. And project number 3, very similar to that, but less, at about 1.3, 1.4 million. We're looking at around 600,000 for the roof drains, and then somewhere in the network of 10 million for the full re-roofing. And I think it sounded, just to cover that, the reason why is it's not just building the roof. The problem isn't the roof on top. The roof on top is still a good roof. And still has 25 to 30 years left on that roof. The problem is the joists below it. And if we are we'd have to remove that roof, put on a whole new roof, but then we also need to potentially reframe, redo all electrical, and that's why it would take a year, not be done over the summer, and why it would be 10 million, not 3 or 4 million.
Josh, sorry, can you give those numbers again?
Sure.
I was trying to
So
find
top
the numbers
down,
up here.
going top, they're not all listed on here, right?
Right.
The only one listed on here is our recommendation. Option number 1, which was full re-roofing, was 10 million. Option number 2, which was the roof drains, was around 600,000. Option number 3, which was the beams 5 feet offset, and where we talked about we didn't have to do the structural mitigation underground, would be 1.4. And then, it's correct, 1.8, right? 1.8 was option number 4, which involves the structural mitigation underground. Questions?
Quick question. For options 3 and 4, both of those can be done over the summer?
Yes.
The beams that are going to be put up, what are those made out of? Is it like wood or steel or?
It could be either, but what we're anticipating would be a glue lamp beam, so it would be based out of wood.
Okay, I was going to say, I usually am pretty good with construction terms, but I have no idea what that thing was that you just said. So the other, yeah, well, we missed Ross. And actually, Trustee Jacobson had said something earlier. Can you go back on one of the pictures of, I guess it's version 4? Because now I see what you said about the, so I saw that. Go back another one, please. What is that? Like, it's still curved. What,
So
is
it's a
that
bit,
an illusion?
yeah, it's just a bit distorted because of the panoramic photo, so we were unable to get it, to get everything into that photo with it being flat.
Okay, all right, because I feel like I'm in a boat.
So the
or
roof
something.
would be flat at the top of the beam. They would meet.
Correct.
Okay.
It would be like this photo as it relates to the glue lamp beam only. These columns would be over.
I'm also wondering, I have a background in disaster preparedness and everything, and when I saw this, and actually have done it to my own home, would it increase the stability of the structure because we're adding that extra insert, just in general, like for earthquake purposes and stuff like that? It seems like a, structural.
I think what we're really gonna do is take a span that's a little bit overstretched and cut it in half, so we take it down well below the design criteria of that. So when we talk about structures, there's lateral and there's gravity forces. We're doing a whole lot to mitigate any sort of gravity challenge. It necessarily won't upgrade the lateral components of the building, which is sort of the earthquake components, but definitely the gravity loading. We cut that in half, and those spans go from, like I said, just a little bit overstretched to very, very strong, very, very short spans. So the structural integrity of the roof would be able to handle much more of a structural load. Not that we're encouraging you to put it on it, but yes, those spans would get much smaller, and the loading of that roof could then be much, much greater.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done this at other projects? Have you done this at other sites? What's the
John and I have done a lot of work around the area to intervene and mitigate other structural challenges. We have not done a roof intervention of this nature, but we have both worked together as companies to handle challenges around the state, I think, for the last 10 years doing different structural interventions, as well as our structural engineer that's involved in this process as well. So while we have not done something to shorten the span of a roof together, I'm very confident in our team's ability to make that work. And again, because we will be working with the division of the state architect, we have their oversight, and they're going to be the ones that come back through and say yes to any solution that we have. It will be fully DSA approved. It'll be fully state certified, and then constructed with all of the rigors that come along with that. So we will have lots of eyes looking at this and lots of people checking in on that construction throughout it, so that at the end it is certified by the state that this solution is structurally sound for your students.
Just to clarify what I'm looking at, when on this last page with the bond priority list, on the right-hand side, it says the Rancho Elementary roofing. It's set at 1.7. So is that, we have 1.7 that's sort of already allocated for this project?
No, I put that
Or
in
that
there.
is, that is this addition in there?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, and then can I just reiterate what I think I heard about something? So the roof that's there is good. The problem is what's under the roof, and adding these beams mitigates the sagging that's happening, that's creating the leakage.
Yes, and from what John told me earlier, if I'm getting this right, I'm going to test my ability to remember. The roof membrane that's put on the top is rated for pooling. So the structure that's below it is what's causing the issue, is the wood is continuously being compressed. The membrane that's on the top is still structurally sound and is still able. The problem that we've been having is that we can't repair it because there's a pool of water that sits up there that anytime we repair it, that just eats right back through that repair, or it finds its ways into cracks and crevices. By lifting this up and then having a flat roof, the repairs will actually work.
Yes.
So follow up on that. So that is that when you said the surface on the top is okay with pooling, or I'm not sure the language you use, because a couple of these said there might still be pooling on the roof, but the major structural issues will be taken care of. So even if there's pooling on the top, we're not concerned about that.
Correct.
Is that correct?
And
Okay.
one of the main issue that what's happening is that every time it pools, the amount of weight is pushing that wood down, pushing it down, right? Then it dries out, or we pump it out and it comes up, but it never comes back up fully to where it needs to be. When this pushes it, it's now got, basically think of it as a crossbeam going across there. That's now, reinforcing it and holding it as if there was just an extra beam always there. Now the pooling can still happen, but it's only going to pool a very slight amount, and that pooling will not depress the structure that it can't rebound back. It's just regular pooling just sitting on the top, the same way it would on the blacktop or something like that.
Okay, we have a number of public comments. We'll take those next. I will call you in order. You'll have 3 minutes. Just as a FYI to the community, it's not a question answer period. Please give all of your comments and we will address them. Our first speaker will be Thomas Jordan. Second up will be Janice Pack.
Thank you. Good evening, trustees and superintendent. My name is Tom Jordan, and I have a daughter who attends Rancho Elementary School. I want to start off my comments to reflect informally on just the tremendous job that Mr. Ray has been doing. As you're all aware, I'm sure, he's stepped into a very difficult circumstance, and he's just been doing a real tremendous job. And his emphasis on site safety and on behavior of students, especially during less supervised times on the yard, is very noticed and appreciated, anecdotally by me, but I've heard a lot from other parents and guardians. I'd also like to make an informal notice about the deep appreciation that my family has, and I know many others have, for the quality of the teachers that we have there. They are not only proficient with that trade, but they obviously care. And that kind of leads into my comments about this agenda item. And I really didn't have time to prepare any meaningful comments on this. I'm certainly a layperson in this space, and Just kind of found out, over the weekend about this agenda item. But I would say that, for the students and for us guardians and parents, the school is really not like one of those third places you hear about, the third place, like the coffee shop. It's really a second home. And I wouldn't presume to speak for the teachers, but they spend a lot of time there, and they put a lot of heart and soul into those spaces. So thinking of it in that way, of that building in that way, I think is important for this conversation. I would say that the parents and the guardians of the students at Rancho want to do our best to support the district as we do our best to support the staff and the teachers at the school. But partnership really is contingent on good communication. And I know that we want to do our best to do our side of that, of communication, but frankly, I fear that this was a little bit of a short turnaround time for us to digest a very technical project that has extremely deep implications beyond the structural integrity, but also what's going on causing all those leaks that we've read about in these past yearly reports now, if we go back and look at all those reports. So no real good comment here and no questions, but I just wanted to make that observation about the principal, the amazing staff, teachers that we have there, and the cherished nature of that space. It's an important space. So thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you. Next will be Janice, and after Janice will be Sasha Vargas.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Janice Pack, and I am in my 29th year of teaching at Rancho Elementary. That's almost half the time that our 64-year-old facility has been standing. I'm here this evening regarding this roof proposal. In my time at Rancho, I have experienced 2 site remodels. I've seen the various modernizations and upgrades and improvements made to the facility, as well as the issues that will arise following them, such as, for example, in room 7, which has experienced ongoing leaking into the classroom for at least 5 years now. I do my best to take care of the site, submit work orders for fixes, suggest improvements when I see them needed. And I want to echo what Tom said. To many people downtown here at the district office, Rancho is just one of many NUSD facilities. But to me, it's a place where children are supported and celebrated. It's a place where they're educated and fed. It's a place where relationships are fostered and families are welcomed. It's a place of joy and community, and it is my second home. It is and has been also home to hundreds of students who, until the recent relocation of early intervention, potentially spent up to 8 years of their childhoods and the majority of their waking hours under this roof. So I'm just simply going to ask you and the others who will be deciding upon the course of action to repair this site to keep this in mind. If this was your home, what associated long and short-term health, safety, functional and physical risks and inconveniences associated with each of these proposed solutions and their potential outcomes would you and your family be willing to bear? How would you want to be kept informed about the issue and the repairs and the times and timeline for repairs? And would you consider some of these Band-Aid fixes to be adequate in addressing the structural and moisture issues for the long-term use of your home? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next will be Sasha Vargas, and then we'll have Philip Royman.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Smith and school board members. My name is Sasha Vargas, and I am a parent of Rancho Elementary School. I'm also on-site counsel. I appreciate the presentation that was shared with us tonight, although we got a lot more information tonight than we had on the actual presentation on the attached agenda, the presentation on the agenda. I just want to share that before any decision is made, I strongly urge that the district not to move forward with a vote tonight. There has been zero communication to the parent community of Rancho. The teachers were told beforehand, I don't know the timeline, and we weren't told on site council till 2 weeks ago on October 13th. So with that, these issues are so huge, the options and the potential impacts parents and staff need a chance to review the plans and understand the costs and give input before such a major and costly decision is finalized. I fully support earmarking funds tonight to make sure that the project is prioritized, but the board should not make a final decision until we have more information and timelines and planning. There has also been no clear information shared about, again, the timelines of the options, including how long classrooms would be displaced and how instruction would be affected. I also want to thank Dr. Smith for sharing via email and answering my email that there has been no mold that was found in the classrooms that have actually been tested, but we don't know exactly what classrooms were tested. I think families deserve to know who conducted the testing, and was it an independent environmental company, or will the full testing results be shared publicly? This is important. We need transparency. Another key concern is that every option except one keeps the old compromise structure in place. That seems like a Band-Aid fix and not a lasting, safe solution. If classrooms need to be moved to portables in any way, I strongly urge to look at different options and having communication with families, which I'm sure you'll hear from Phil tonight, of doing potential pieces and doing wings at a time so we can cut costs on portables. I really believe that a complete and thorough roof replacement is truly the only way to address the full problem. I also would like to ask whether the district has explored using insurance or requested state emergency funding, if that's a possibility, given the safety implications of this issue, and what is the expected lifespan for each of the options that was presented tonight, both structurally and the roof itself. Rancho families are simply asking for more transparency, safety, and a solution that lasts. Please, let's take the time together to complete the information.
Philip.
So my name is Phil Raymond. I have 3 kids that go to Rancho. I'm a general contractor. I'm not interested in doing the work. I've got 30 years experience. I've built high rises and low rises and homes and all kinds of stuff. I've read many structural reports and been a part of major insurance losses and all types of stuff. So I did learn some stuff, as Sasha said. There was some stuff presented here verbally that it was not in the report, but the work can be done in the summer. So that was good news. I wrote something. It takes 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Measured it 3 times. I'm going to read it. And some of it was addressed, but I don't want to go off script. So good evening, board members. I've reviewed the Rancho design presentation on the roof, and I want to share some concerns. While the report raises valid points about ponding water and roof deflection, I believe it falls short on detail and may overstate the solution to a common problem. I heard $10 million. That's a very expensive roof. First, the report notes that roof deflection, but seems to base that only on how deep the ponding water is. That's not a reliable measure. To understand the severity of the roof joist sagging, you need to open up a section, expose the framing, and measure the deflection properly. Without that, you're making an assumption. If accurately measured, and the deflection turns out to be less severe than assumed, the fix will be much simpler than proposed. So my question, when I said I have a question, because I've never been to one of these, was did anyone do exploratory work, open up a ceiling, look at the roof joists, and see the deflection? But I did hear some positive news about the joists going up and down. Lumber grading also, and I'm going off script, if this was built 60 years ago, that lumber is much better than we have today. So ponding water itself can be corrected in more practical ways. One proven method is to install taper foam insulation to create slope and put down a new TPO roof section. I also understand that the roof has many leaking areas, so a simple re-roof might be in order, and you discussed that. That's a straightforward solution that keeps water moving to drains. The option 1 in the report suggests that the site could be closed for a year. But the same section, the report admits the amount of structural intervention is unknown. If the scope isn't defined, how can anyone state it will take a year, right? That kind of assumption doesn't give the district clear basis for planning. The report does not address the actual as-built conditions, but you did mention that tonight. Should I stop?
Yep, thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate your comments. Okay, I'm gonna ask a couple questions that I heard, if that's all right. What kind of moisture mitigation are we doing with where we are now, regardless of what the solution is?
Yeah, so primary concern is to repair any leaks that are going on. We know of 2 leaks predominantly that have been, both of them were talked about tonight. They're banes. And we did do mold testing throughout the whole site. We picked the 2 classrooms that have leaks, plus 1 classroom in each other wing, so to make sure that we got a full spectrum of the full analysis of the whole site. And that report is available in full. Principal Mayorel sent out a notice to the community. I think it came out, was it Sunday or Monday? That said that he has it in his office and is available. No. And so it is available there in full. The principal has it if anyone is interested in seeing that full report. And we topped it with an analysis that broke it down so that was a little easier to read because it is 35 pages long. So.
Okay, great, thank you. Classroom displacement. So in the event that we went with 4, which is your recommendation, what is the timeline? Is there any classroom displacement?
We believe that we'd be able to get it done completely within the summer, so there'd be no classroom displacement.
Okay, thank you. And then lifespan of current roof was discussed, that's 20 years.
Well, anywhere from 20 to 30. It starts to depend. We do 30-year roofs, correct, John?
I would have to check. I'd have to check the exact warranty on that roof. But yeah, like Josh said, it would be 20 to 30 years. I don't know if that was a 20 or a 30.
Oh, okay. Well.
And then within the section of the roof, okay, so the add-in is to support the roof, the items inside the roof, once there is not continuous pooling past the point that the roof can take, the idea is that those will no longer be moist and moving in up and down.
Moisture has not been an issue.
Okay.
So where there's an actual leak, where there's, a tear in fabric or whatnot, that's where leaking is happening. There isn't moisture. The roof is not permeable on its own.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions? One.
So I appreciate, and I know it's hard sometimes when we distribute materials because there's stuff that needs to be said rather than, conveyed in a slides sheets that are printed or whatever. And so I'm going to indirectly respond to someone's comment. My dad was a general contractor. I grew up, I kept moving every couple of years because we would build the house. I would actually get to live in the house when we still had that pink or yellow icky insulation and no floors really. So I grew up living like that frequently. So my instinct was similar to comments that we've received and heard tonight that, well, gosh, why don't we just, I don't want to do the easy fix. Let's just take the whole darn thing off and make sure this isn't going to make it worse, or we just resolve it now. And so I came from that mindset, thinking that, and listening to the information tonight, which was added on to the information that Josh had already shared with me, I grew to appreciate and understand that it's not the roof itself, it's just the needing that support underneath it. And actually, when we were talking, in terms of the leaks, I had mentioned or shared that when I lived in Corte Madera, I was in a home and I was actually on the lower floor. There was a second story above me, and I had gotten up one night and it was all wet, and I had a rabbit and thought, oh my God, the rabbit peed everywhere, and I'm stepping in it, and but it turned out it was a leak from the roof, from the second story, and it had just, all the water had traversed down. The water finds its way. So between that conversation and the conversation about the structural thing, I realized it's not the roof, it's just things that we need to do to support it, to make the situation better, and then alleviate the places that are truly leaks that are happening. So I don't know if that helps some context that we're looking at this like the roof is failing, but it's not the roof that's failing. It's just what's under it. And I also contemplated as I was listening to comments that the rain has been exceptionally heavier and blowing so much more. It just feels like the last couple of years, because in my mind too, I'm thinking, well, how come hearing Janice mention that there's been leaks for a while? Like, what is it that's creating this? And I feel like it's just been so much water in general that we've had the last, 18 months or so. So anyway, with all that being said, I feel better and more comfortable with having you all here explaining those things to me and feeling like the best option. I don't like the one with the columns in the middle. I'd like to do what's better for the classroom and functionality of them on the side. I know Trustee Jacobson asked about timing, but I'm even just curious about, is this like a 3-month thing, or how long does this all take to?
So if you were to give approval tonight or I guess you would give us direction tonight to pursue option number 4, in alignment with what staff is recommending, we would bring back the full proposal and like what you normally see with a mock-up budget, everything that John normally presents would come to the next board meeting and we would get started right away. The plan would be to fix it this summer. Yes, fix it this summer. So construction would begin in June, basically.
I don't know if you talk about this, but between now and the summer, how are we going to mitigate anything occurring, safety, anything?
Yeah. So we've already have pumps up there. We've actually added more just to be on the safest side we can be. And then there's also a lot of manual mitigation. So getting up there with brooms and not letting the water sit for any longer than it has to. Getting up there and getting all the leaves off the roof, sticks off the roof so that they don't block the pumps. And it's a lot of just manual mitigation during that time.
First, I appreciate that there are so many community members who are passionate about roofing, but I also know that this is more than a roof, right? It's about creating a safe space for our students. Janice, as a teacher, thank you for being here. Like, I so appreciate that our classrooms are our homes, right? And we want those to be safe spaces. Part of what I heard from the public comment was the communication was a central piece of some of the frustration here. And so I think just a note for our team in terms of when we're communicating things, trying to figure out where the miscommunication might have been to alleviate some of the frustration. Also, Janice, you spoke about having this leak in your classroom for 5 years. And so I would just want to figure out, like, where can we, if there's a leak and you've been trying to get it addressed for a long time. Somebody else's room, great. That just sort of stood out to me. It's frustrating when you're trying to get help for an issue over and over again. And so maybe there's a missed line there in terms of how we're addressing student needs staff needs. My priority is always the student experience and the staff experience, and those columns in the middle of the room make it real hard to navigate a space with my teacher hat on. Option 4 seems like a good option. I appreciate hearing that the roof is structurally sound, so we don't actually need to replace the entire roof. So option 4 seems a good option for me. And also thanks, JC, to your team for getting up on the roof. Now moving forward, it's a lot of time and a lot of work for your team.
Okay. I will just kind of surmise that obviously drains all around no one talked about option 2, but I think it's clear that that's off the table. I've seen some head nodding. Thank you. Option 3 is off the table because it impedes on our student and teacher experience and space. Option 1 was removing everything. I didn't hear a lot of traction for that. Okay, so we're back to option 4, which is what staff's recommendation is. At this point, I'm gonna ask if there's a motion to approve this project with a motion to move forward with option 4 with coming back staff information on what that would exactly look like and a normal presentation like we get with all our other roof and HVAC, et cetera, projects. Sound good?
Tonight, maybe staff needs to go out to a staff meeting and just reiterate what the board has selected, and maybe Josh or JC, somebody go back out there to the staff and provide an update.
Great.
I don't know, that's just me saying that.
Lovely.
Or even when's,
Agree.
who's out there, who's the PTA meeting too? They can,
So a staff and or PTA meeting, depending on timelines or whenever those next happen. Does that feel reasonable? Great, thank you. What did you have? Okay, Trustee Gasson with a first. Would anyone like to second this motion? Trustee Pickus, thank you. Any other conversation before we have a vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving forward to get more information on option 4. 6 plus 3 students. Thank you. Oh, 2 students, sorry. Oh.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Also, thank you both for coming and giving all of the information and all of the work you've done in the past in our district. Appreciated. Okay, our next item is 13B, the approval of surplus land entitlement process. Our Director of Student Housing, Derek Nell, is bringing that in conjunction with Joshua Raff.
All right, ready? Yes. Okay, so we're going to jump into the surplus property entitlement process. Derek is definitely going to do a fantastic job of talking about what that entitlement process actually looks like and what we would be, quote unquote, signed up for. But I'm going to talk about a little bit the funding source and how that works for something like an entitlement process, because this isn't something that has been done in this district for quite a while. And with the entitlement process, you do that so that you can designate a piece of land to be utilized in and like I said, Derek will go through that. But what we have is 2 different types of funding, and that's our general funds and our facilities funds. Our general fund is Fund 01. When we bring our basically our budgets back to the board, that's the general fund. When we bring first interim and we say we're qualified or positive, that's Fund 01. But we also have a fund called Fund 40, which is a roll-up, and it includes in it Fund 41 and Fund 47. Quite a long time ago, there was a funding source called the Redevelopment Agency that took money from property taxes, and it was meant to basically enrich the California taxpayer by developing land, developing housing, developing all of this places to be and things to do in your community. Some communities took advantage of that money and utilized it properly. Some communities sat on that money for 30 years. In 2012, when Governor Jerry Brown was in office, as part of LCFF, he also undid the RDA. And he said, you're going to give that money back proportionally what was due back to the school districts. And the school districts are going to utilize that money. Half of that money goes into the LCFF. That's not what we're talking about. But the other half of that money, about $700,000 a year, goes into these Fund 40s. And that money is meant to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to create asset value. So you are supposed to use it for buildings, you're supposed to use it for purchasing property, you're supposed to be using it for major improvements, basically the same thing that we're using the bond for, but we have the bond. Now, we have not been getting that money since 2013. It only lasts for a small period of time and will be completely gone by 2035. But tonight, the money that we're talking about is all being paid out of that and therefore will not affect our operations in any sort of way. We are not giving up anything to be able to do this. This money is just going to be sitting there until we decide something to do. And also the fantastic plan that Derek has provided will not only utilize money that won't affect our general fund, but when we are done and completed with the process, it will pay that money back so we can utilize those funds for something else. No, I'm going to talk about this one too. Okay, so basically what I just said here is that we'll use the facility funds, then we go into the survey, design, CEQA, all of those sort of background processes. Then there's a project financing. That is if we are going to do development or sale of the land. That process is sort of slightly removed. And then at the end, if we were to sell land, the money would then come back to the district to reimburse the district for the funding that we spent. So they are all built into the overall arching idea of the surplus property projects that we have previously approved.
Okay. So good news. We're here tonight to ask you for authorization to go ahead and spend the dollars that Josh was describing on entitlement for the Meadow Annex and San Andreas properties, and to approve the timeline that we are presenting as well. Essentially to do this entitlement, we've broken it into categories of how we're going to spend the money, and then later I'm going to show you the phases on when we're going to spend the money and what we're going to spend it on. It's important to remember that this entitlement process serves as two primary principles, coming from the original feasibility study that told us our properties would be worth so much as is, but they would be worth a lot more if we were to entitle them. So it's definitely going to add value to the properties that we're working with. And in addition to that, it's going to give the district control over what does get built or developed on those properties, which will help assure the surrounding communities that something inappropriate doesn't get built there by a private developer, which would happen if we sold it as is. So the slide you're looking at now essentially just breaks down the cost for each of the individual sites, combined to just under 2.9 million. And I'll go over the timeline and how we're spending it. It's the way the process is going to work is we're going to start with a market study. This is a study that's going to help identify the best product to build on the sites for a builder / developer in the future. And it's also required by the finance companies who want to have an independent objective market study so that they can look at that and say, okay, so you've got a good idea. Essentially, you don't want just to take my word on for it, you want to have an independent market study. So using that market study, that'll help us identify the best and most appropriate uses for these two properties. And then we'll go ahead and follow through with the rest of the categories, which are professional services. Essentially, we build a team of civil engineers, architects, land designers, and others that'll help us come up with the initial preliminary concepts, et cetera. Then once we have a plan that you will see you'll get an update in February and then again in June. We then start to actually take action with the city, where we'll start to pay fees, application fees, go through some public plan checks and public hearings there. And then the third category is the sort of the CEQA environmental studies that are required on any land use going forward. And that you'll see on the next time, on the next slide, you'll see how we go about spending that. We've got some money in there for the project and timeline management, as well as a contingency in case it goes higher, but hopefully it'll go lower. So this basically just shows you the timeline, essentially just about a month to do the market study. And then once we have that market study, we'll begin with the phase one. You can kind of see the fuzzy arrows there that basically says we'll start to build the team that we're going to use to do the entitlement process, while the market study is going on. We'll go through those steps. That we'll work ourselves into phase two, which will be a more exact planning, and we'll begin the environmental work and assumptions that are going to take place. And then phase three is where we begin to actually do the permit applications with the city, hold those public hearings. And phase four is the environmental process of doing the environmental impact reports and mitigation, et cetera. This final slide just basically shows you essentially in those 4 phases. The first phase ramps up pretty high up in the first 6 months or so, and then essentially the rate of spending declines, but the totals continue to go up throughout the 18 to 24 month process. The bottom line is if we do not need to do an environmental impact study on the Meadow Park Annex property, recent trailer bill legislation allows developments within a range of the train station down there is the example that lets us to bypass environmental impact reports altogether on parcels like that. So that would be a huge saving if we could, if we didn't have to do that. So I don't have the ultimate question slide, so the fact that got mentioned by the superintendent, and I don't have one. I feel bad about that, but so anyway, but happy to take your questions and answer.
There was no questions.
Yeah, hopefully I wasn't anticipating that. No, I'm not going to say that. There's always questions.
Well, there's no question slides, so I guess I really technically can't, right?
Strategically, no, it's just an accident.
So I have questions kind of all over the board. The first one that struck me is for Josh, the projected outlay from Fund 40. How much is in there? And I apologize if you told me or said.
Yeah, currently we have around $1.8 million in there. And we are seeing around $750,000 per year. Like I mentioned, it is going to taper off, but it does run until around 2035, and that's when the RDA runs out. So we would expect to fully be able to cover this during the time of this project, basically bringing Fund 40 down to zero, but then, when the project is completed, it being reimbursed.
Okay, yeah, I understood that part. I guess
Yeah.
I was surprised that we would be able to cover the 2.83, so that's where.
Yeah, because on Derek's slide here, we can see that it's phased out.
Right.
And so the fact that it's going to take more than a year, we expect money this year and then again money next year of another around 1.4 million to bring us up to around 3.2. And the total of this is 2.8. So we should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a nice surprise.
Yes.
The other thing I'm wondering, not to be the person that doesn't think this will happen or want it to happen, but if we go through this, I can see some of the expenses are probably set in and don't expire. But recalling back from my time 6-7 years ago when we were talking about like the CEQA environmental items, is there a term for which when you have those done that they expire and need to be redone?
Oh, that's a good question. I wish John was still here.
John?
He left already. I don't know. We can get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I would assume and guess that the answer is probably yes, but Derek, do you know the time frame for that?
Essentially, the environmental impact reports are valid up to the time of entitlement. Once you have the entitlement, it was based on the report that was done at the time. And so it doesn't really expire. It's just the tool that's used as you go through the building permitting process, et cetera. It's not to say that something couldn't come up or be discovered once you start to break ground,
I
for
was
example.
thinking more that like if we hit a hiccup or something, we did all this investment and then, something happened, like how long do we have to not have to go through that again or whatever. And then the other question, I think I've forgotten already. Oh, it was about this whole, so the EIR for that slide. So tell me again how we could potentially have that waived because it's proximity to the transit. I didn't follow that.
Yeah, it's a number that's around $313,000 cited for the Meadow Annex. But recent trailer bill language, AB 130, SB 131, created this infill exemption. So if you have parcels that are infill, which means it's surrounded by developed areas and it's within a half a mile of a transportation,
Okay.
which in our case is the smart station, you're allowed to bypass a full EIR.
So it would
There
just-
will still be some environmental studies and biological resources study. There's a creek nearby. So there will be some studies that are done, but we won't necessarily be required to do the full environmental impact report.
Okay, that would be kind of nice.
It would be.
Thank you.
Okay, as I see no other questions, would anyone like to make a motion to approve this entitlement process? Trustee Gasson with a first, thank you. Trustee Alexander with a second. No discussion, all those in favor? 6 trustees plus 2 students, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is going to be brought to us by Trustee Gasson. This is discussion about Joint Legislative Advisory Committee priorities. Trustee Gasson is our representative to JLAC, is the acronym for that group, and she also is the co-chair of the group. So she's going to talk to us about this.
So I'm super excited because we can actually have dialogue about this. I know I have spoken a couple of times at meetings about the desire for us to take a look through JLAC about the priorities. Each year, we typically, as a group, select three or four priorities that we want to take and present and advocate for in Legislative Action Day, which is in February. And so I'm sure you've seen the things from Lisa Miller. She sent out asking, what are the priorities that Novato Unified District and other districts would like to have put into consideration for a discussion so that we can come down at our next meeting to determine what Marin County, what's important to Marin County and what do we really want to focus our attention to. As part of that, I really like Lisa a lot. She's very thoughtful. And when she was pulling this together for Kimberly McGrath and I, she actually included the prior 10 years. It turned out it wasn't consecutive years. It seems like maybe we just took a year and said, okay, we're going to do the same priorities. And as I previously had shared, there was a lot of the same things that would come up each year. One in particular is just funding, which we all know is just really complicated and frustrating, and then the other one is SPED. So what I wanted to do tonight was just highlight some things that have been brought up. Because I'm a co-chair, I was able to kind of see what some of the other school districts had interest in. I wanted to share those with you, with the idea of seeing if we could find interest from our district in terms of what we wanted to put forth for our 3 recommended goals or priorities. But I also wanted to take it to a down a notch too. When I was speaking with Kimberly McGrath, who's with Reed Union School District, they actually have legislative talking points that they approve as a board each year, and it was really fascinating to see that document. Part of it was structured around what the issue was, the background, and then actual specifics impact to their school district, because as we know, across Marin, we all have unique challenges and different, for us, TK is, we're set up well to do that. Other districts are having challenges with TK. So it's not always consistent across Marin, what we all, prioritize because we have different challenges. But within this document that she did, it was super interesting to have, and or maybe I didn't say, but they had talking points too, similar to the talking points we have around the parcel tax issues. Bye, Maddie. No, have a good one. And so anyway, so again, I'll go back to things that have been covered or for discussion that came kind of to the top. So one of them is the AI is a topic coming up regarding responsible and effective use, establishing corporate controls, protect student privacy, promote equity and access, and support research and development. And I know some of us saw the AI presentation around that. And again, I should take a step back on this. I feel like we are constantly challenged by the state's fiscal challenges. And so sometimes I'm looking at this, like, what can we put up there as a priority that maybe will not require a lot of funds, or maybe can transfer or shift some responsibility, which I'll explain here in a second. Public records request was also highlighted or identified by another district. Not that we don't want to, have the public be able to access our information or do a request, but some sites, and I would imagine maybe even ours, the breadth of information that we are, have to look into, and the hours that it takes to pull up information requested. Just taking a look at that was brought up as for consideration. There was also, I think Dr. Smith could speak better to this than I did, because I didn't have time to do all of my homework, but there was conversation around the amount of compliance reports that we were required to do. And again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier at the opening updates or whatever remarks, is that we're going to be really financially challenged. And so how do we set ourselves up in a position where we can restructure things? And if we've got all these obligations, it makes it really hard to cut staff when we have to do compliance reports, or we have to do, the context for this was, now we've got this great money from Prop 28, but now we have to do all this back-end work, and somebody's got to be working on that. And there was another example, which is escaping me right now. They're all really great programs, but then it comes with all this extra work.
A lot of the reports collect the same data.
So
you have to repeat it, but you have to do it in whatever the new format is for that particular report. Jeff is very familiar with all of those different reports and options, as well as Susie and Lindsay and Julie. So I do believe that there is some efforts going on at the AXA level and also at the state board level to investigate kind of that drowning in documentation piece that we talked about earlier this year.
Yeah. So I think that that's just something that seems like it should be easily, trimmed down or reconfigured or figured out, whatever. And then funding methodology, and actually Josh is, you made a comment tonight on that other presentation. I'm not going to go into it because he's really good at explaining it, but rethinking how we get money and making it more equitable for districts that have LCFF funding. So there's a couple of things that he suggested that maybe we, just changing how the money is allocated does not necessarily impact those schools that are basic aid, because that's always my concern is, as a county, we want to make sure that we're doing things that we can all agree on and that don't take away from another school site because of our request to do something. So that was something I was considering as well. Anyway, there could be more. I want to open this up for, actually I forgot to, the impact of AB 218, the time for civil claims for childhood sexual abuse claims. And then housing. I know Derek is here, so housing too. So any thoughts? Any additional items?
Can you talk a little bit about the process that your committee moves through to decide the priorities?
So right now we're collecting information in the spreadsheet that I accidentally shared that I wasn't supposed to, from each school site. And I think what the intent is to figure out what is everyone interested in, where are the common pieces, and then bring that to JLAC to review and say, okay, these are the things that came to the surface. What do we want to tackle this year for our priorities? And some of the things, actually going back to the prior years, I mean, 2017, it was about pension liabilities, which that's been such a topic in the past. There was a district reserve funding restrictions. They repealed SB 850. I don't know if anybody's here to know what that was, but when I did look at some of these, it was interesting that we have kind of moved the needle a little bit. It's just, special education, they actually changed the word. They were asking for fully funding special ed, but even that one I look at and think it's supposed to be funded by the federal government. It's not state. So what can we do at the state level? Oh, and I can't believe I forgot this one, because it does relate to the event that Chandra was present and speaking at. I also think we have to take a look and say, what are the things that are working well and we don't want the state to take away? And the biggest thing that came to mind, and I couldn't find if there was a date that it would end, but is universal meals. And so I felt that that should be said somewhere, because we're worried about a lot of things, but we have a lot of things that work and are, we want to see continue. And so making sure that when, it's always like okay, well, if we're going to give you this, then we have to take away this. And so I don't want it to be, oh, well, you got this, but we're not able to fund universal meals anymore. For me, that's an important thing. So did that help answer? Okay.
Dr. Smith, are there any things that you would like to have on this list that are positives that you would like to see continue? You probably will know that better than we will. And if you don't have an answer right now, that's just fine.
I would love to do a lot of state reallocation of different funds and programming to our benefit and to what I think is more equitable for districts and students. In terms of what to continue, to make sure continue, I would for sure agree with Trustee Gasson that the universal meal piece is very, very important. I would say the other big pieces are like universal aftercare, like the ELOP program, and the community schools have been other big investments that the state has made. And I don't think lightning will strike me when I say that I prefer the universal meals to be maintained at the highest level if there were choices to be made.
Career tech.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but yeah.
That's something that the governor clearly is behind
Mm-hmm.
and is a benefit here in this district.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for the many opportunities our kids have here. Yeah. But yeah, that's actually good, because the more, and I think that's the frustrating and disappointing part. And I know we're all really good about attending the Legislative Action Day, but I remember somebody speaking, I think last year, and saying, we feel like the money goes out and nobody ever does anything. And I was trying to explain to them later, I sent her a long email. It's hard because you set us up for, we want to do these things, but then the money gets pulled and it's not like we can just then keep doing them. And in some ways I feel that I would rather not, I don't want to say I don't want to have those services and opportunities for the kids in our schools, but at the same time, it's sort of, it's like, what things can we use that money for that we can then continue to move forward with? How do we translate what we're getting and make sure that we can continue, instead of giving us money and then it's not even enough and then you pull it away? I just find that to be very frustrating. So career tech, so thank you. Yeah, because that would be nice.
I'd like to just say that personally, I think AI funding or support, and I think there is a component here that equals a no dollars situation, because we are in the Bay Area and the state has relationships with Silicon Valley just like some educational institutions do. And if we're going to be able to provide AI tools to our teachers and our staff and our students, we need access to those. Mm-hmm. Additionally, if we want to raise the next workforce that are able to utilize these technologies, we need access to their sandboxes, etc., in order to learn how.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So AI, tech. How are we feeling on the public records? Any changes? No?
I think the compliance one is a really easy ask, to just have the state do some kind of audit of their own compliance asks and audits to not have so many duplications.
Okay.
I think a bill was signed that they extended the time. The report was supposed to come out about all the reports that were, and that a bill was in place, I think, to extend the timeline. Is that correct? So now it's a whole nother year now.
The report said that the report was needed.
That just says it all, right?
Yeah. Well, I think in the meantime, you guys got asked for like 3 other things, so it's not even, it's like a moving target, in my opinion, you know.
I think you have so many new legislators who come in and they each want to know that their project is being held accountable. They want to see the results, and that equals, trying to, it falls on us, right? It falls on the districts to respond to all of those new initiatives. And then they forget to get rid of the other ones that aren't pet projects anymore.
Yeah, I think it's hard. And you raise a good point. There are so many new representatives right now, and so a lot of them are not even familiar with how we're funded. So so there's a lot of that learning curve too that's missing. And we've had Kimberly, Lisa, and I have had conversations around just how it's, just when you feel like you're moving forward, and then you have to, get everybody else caught up too, it sort of gets a little complicated. Okay, so if you have anything,
a quick
sure.
question about, or a comment, I don't know enough about all of the funding structures to figure out the specific ask here, but I wonder if there is a way to change the requirements of the funds that we get, right? If there's money that is allocated for AI, but our district has partnerships, can we take can the parameters for the money that we are given, can we have more freedom in how we spend those funds? Because I think as things shift at the federal level and each community is looking at their surrounding community and saying, here's what we need, and it's very different than what San Rafael or like Larkspur, I wonder if part of the ask is, can we have more flexibility in the funds that we receive? And that is not necessarily more, but it's just a parameter shift. I don't know where that fits in here.
Yeah, and we've actually had conversations in a different way to say, if, and I'm not going to be able to articulate this, but yeah, like things that would, like the food, the universal meals for some of the school sites, it's actually costing them a lot more. They said, can you just like change the requirements a little bit, and then we can actually provide meals for instead it's ending up with waste, and it's just a big disaster for Southern Marin. And so having stuff and say, okay, it needs to be kind of spent in this way, but you can do this or this depending on the needs of your school district, seems to make so much sense. But I feel like they're always, at least my opinion has been that it's always like, we're giving this money and you're not responsible, you have to tell us where you spent it, and we only want you to do this, even though it's, TK is another example, we're doing okay. Southern Marin, they have several school sites, that's their thing. They want to change the expectations around that, or ask for different funding and stuff. So that's another thing where, they may not need it, but if we all got, $500,000, they wanted to use it in facilities for TK, and we want to use it for, facility, whatever, that we have that ability, because we don't have this, we have a need, but it's not exactly the same. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, thank you. Please reach out to me. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm super excited about this legislative talking point thing that Reed has.
Diane, I also want to thank you for your leadership on JLAC. I tend to attend those frequently and really appreciate that you are bringing our voices to the entire committee.
Thank you. Thanks. No, I enjoy it. It's actually, I told Lisa and Kimberly the other day, and this is true, and I'll admit it in public, it took me 4 times to pass poli-sci so I could get my degree. It's like, I am so bad with all this stuff. And so I actually, you guys will be seeing a spreadsheet that I've created that actually has the Senate bill numbers and assembly bills and who's got it and what the status is. Because I look at all this stuff, I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. It's just so, it went where? It went to the, so I sent it to them because I'm like, I can't process all of this and keep track. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Like so Jeff Frost. I know, and like you guys were doing it earlier, these numbers rattling off A, B, blah, 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 or whatever. So that should be forthcoming as well. Hopefully it might help you guys as well to keep track.
They're just showing off.
Yeah.
They could be wrong. They could be mentioning numbers that aren't the right ones. But I just wanted to say too that it's, this is fantastic. and that it is a board and superintendent goal this year to provide continued advocacy for public education. And so thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for bringing that. We will see everyone again in our next regularly scheduled meeting on November 18th.